And,
Listen.
fortunately, I have not had a stroke. I haven't had a heart attack. And we still don't know why my blood pressure is high all the time, but it is.
You could be having some pain. That can be some pinched nerve that
Yeah.
causing the blood pressure to elevate.
Yeah.
What is it?
Diagnostic. Yep.
The diagnosis of your blood pressure may not ever be found out. Then
Yeah.
it happens.
And I'll take a low dose medication for it right now, and it seems to be staying fine.
Yeah, because it could be anything. It can be a lot of underlying issues,
Right.
But oh well, you're living. You're here.
Yep.
You're living life. Your actions is you're enjoying life.
Yeah.
You're smoking a cigar when you want to drink.
Yep.
Smoke a cigar. You're drinking your scotch when you want to
Right.
drink. It doesn't affect your life because you're still doing it.
Right. And you know what? We were talking about George Burns and a lot of very famous people have been cigar smokers, and we've got their pictures all over the shop here at Holy Smoke. One gentleman who smoked cigars rather famously was the Christian minister Charles Spurgeon.
Spurgeon, I've heard that name.
And was a great biblical scholar, and probably one of 2 or 3 ministers at his time, which was 100 years ago, that everybody in the world knew. And and he loved cigars. And he was taken to task by other ministers who said they didn't think he should be smoking cigars because they thought it was bad for him. And Charles Spurgeon, and I'm going to paraphrase, and I think this is really close to what he said. It's not exact, but he said, I intend to go home tonight and smoke a cigar to the glory of God. If I'm missing anything, it's just a word or two, but that's basically what he said. And I was always so impressed with that because he had that cigar as a way of relaxation. This is a man that knew the word inside and out and preached to thousands of people and was a very good Christian man. And I was just always impressed with what Charles Spurgeon said.
But he found this to be his peace.
He did.
He found this to be his relaxation.
Yep.
His mental therapy.
Yep.
His way of getting to be where he needed to be. Let's segue to that. I got one for you. Our dear friend Dean.
Yes.
As he was going through what he was going through, the last thing he said that he'll die smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do.
And I think when he was over in Puerto Rico, getting some treatment, trying to recover from his illnesses, his medical issues.
Yeah.
But he said he's gonna smoke a cigar.
Right.
The favorite cigars he ended up smoking.
Yeah.
So this will take you to a peace of being with the Most High. You're God of all peace of the world. And so good point.
Yeah. Dean Bell is who he's talking about, and Dean was a great friend of ours, a great friend of the shop's.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away about I guess 3 years ago, maybe almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, about close to it.
And something funny that he had this community as family. The people who come to this shop, we all knew Dean, we all supported him. And the weekend before he passed away, he was at, I think, Memorial Hospital. It was either Memorial or Erlanger Hospital. And they were releasing him from the hospital on a Sunday evening, and they sent him to his sister's house in Athens, Tennessee, with hospice.
Right.
And the doctor told him there's nothing else we can do. They were giving him medication to keep him comfortable. And he had a great attitude. He knew where he was going, and he wasn't worried about it. He said, you know what? If I die, I die, and I'm okay.
That's right.
But he knew that smoking a cigar was not going to be anything different. It wasn't going to make any difference.
That's right.
And when he was getting released from the hospital on a Sunday evening, and I wasn't there. I'd been there earlier that day to see him, but there were about maybe 8 or 10 people, including his family and some of his friends. And one of his friends, a guy named Scott, who used to come over here all the time,
I remember Scott,
was there in the hospital room. And Dean said, are you going to go by Holy Smoke before you come up to my sister's house tomorrow? And he said, I can. And Dean said, well, go by there and pick me up an Allegiance by EPC and a Padron 1926. And his doctor was in the room. And his doctor looks at him and said, well, Dean, do you really think you should be smoking? And Dean looked at him and said, what do you think it's going to kill me?
I remember that.
It was a great line. And his doctor went, Yeah, that was probably pretty stupid.
I remember hearing that. I think Scott had mentioned that. Yeah, and Scott was his dear friend.
He was, and he was a dear friend of all of ours.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, let's talk about one more thing before we knock it off here.
Look good.
Let's talk about pairing cigars with something to drink. Now, we've talked about how good cigars are with coffee.
Yes,
and they're great with coffee.
Yes.
But talk a little bit about pairing it with either a bourbon or a scotch or something.
Well, even more so. Let's go to a point of a guy who used to come to 5-Star. He only drank Dr. Pepper.
Yep.
That was his go-to no matter what. It was a Dr. Pepper, and every cigar he smoked was flavorful with his Dr. Pepper.
Yep.
Now, I'm a guy who drinks a lot of bourbon. Don't matter what bourbon, but I'm bougie. I drink the top shelf bourbons.
Yeah.
So I'll pair it with all of mine, which it has to be that particular time in which I feel like I want to drink a bourbon. So if I want to drink, say, some Elijah Craig,
yep,
it's a certain cigar I smoke.
Right.
If I smoke some Woodford Reserve, it's a certain cigar I smoke with that. Maker's Mark, it's a certain cigar I smoke with that. Widow Jane, it's a certain cigar I smoke with that particular blend of bourbon.
Right.
And it pairs well with whatever that cigar may be at that time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people drink just certain types of bourbon with any cigar.
Right.
Coffee, I'm going to drink my coffee the way I drink it, with a little bit of creamer with my Connecticut in the mornings. Then I'm going to drink me maybe some bourbon later in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on what I'm going to drink.
Right.
Like I'm drinking with you right now.
Yep.
And I'm drinking some Evan Williams.
Yep.
And this pairs well with my EP Carrillo Pledge.
Yep.
So it depends on your palate. And it's
right.
Really
and what we're drinking right now is Bottled in Bond.
Bottled in Bond.
And I have discovered something. I'm not that much of a bourbon drinker. I drank bourbon for about 20 years. And then 25 years ago, I would drink an occasional scotch during those first 20 years. And 25 years ago, somehow or another, overnight, I became a scotch drinker. It was I remember I literally went to the liquor store one night intending to buy a bottle of bourbon. And I thought, last time I was in an airport bar, I had a scotch and I enjoyed it. I think I'll get a bottle of scotch. And I just changed overnight. And then I discovered the single malt scotches. I love scotches that are from the Isle Coast,
right,
which are very peaty and smoky.
Peaty, yeah.
And it's funny, my favorite scotch of all time still is Lafroig.
Lafroig.
I love Lafroig.
That
and
I know.
It is very, very peaty, very smoky. And my wife, who used to drink blended scotch occasionally, she doesn't much anymore, but back then she did. And we were going to have a scotch, and I was going to smoke a cigar on our deck one evening, years before we opened the shop here. And she had run out of her scotch. And I remember she stuck her head out the door on our deck, and I sat out there already and lit a cigar. And she said, "I'm out of my scotch. Do you mind if I drink some of yours?" I said, "Well, of course I don't mind." But I said, it's not what you're used to. I said, "Add extra ice and extra water." So she came out a few minutes later, and she had a glass, and it had about, this much scotch in it. And then she had put a bunch of ice and then added water to it. And she did something like this.
After all that, huh?
It tastes like dirt. And I went, I know.
I told you. I love it. I told you it's peaty.
It does.
Yeah.
Because you get the essence of everything that came out of the soil in a smoky, peaty scotch.
Good point.
And so, and I will pair almost any cigar that I smoke with that.
With your scotch.
That is my favorite.
Now, occasionally, Dennis, go back to pairing. I would drink some Remy Martin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big cognac drinker, but if I drink cognac,
yep,
it's going to be the Remy Martin 1738. Oh, my gosh. Good flavors,
yep,
good pairing with any cigar.
Yep.
And it don't matter at what point I'll smoke a cigar. If I'm going to drink me that cognac, that's the only one I'm going to drink.
Yep.
Smoke with my cigar.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Do you ever pick up that cognac and hold it up and look into the camera and say, "I'm the ladies' man"?
Ooh, I am my ladies' man.
Oh, Mateen, I want to thank you for being here, being a part of this.
My pleasure, Dennis.
It is such a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you here, but the fact that you will take time out of your day to come over here and sit down and share your thoughts with our customers and our potential customers. It means a lot to me. And I just want to say thank you. You folks have been listening to Mateen L. My name is Dennis Massengale, and I'm one of the owners at Holy Smoke Cigars in East Ridge, Tennessee. And come see us if you're in town. If you're not in town, give us a call. Give us a shout. Check us out online. We are on Facebook at Holy Smoke Cigars East Ridge TN. Our website is holysmokecigarsshop.com. And check us out. Come visit us, even if it's online or by a telephone call or whatever. But we really do appreciate Mateen being here. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, brother.
And I hope to see you for years to come right here because I love you, brother.
As long as these doors are open, Dennis, Mateen L always going to be here.
Thank you, buddy.
You better know it. Thank you.
Love you, man.
Love you too, brother.
All right.
Yes, sir.
See you guys later.
Thanks to
We're
Bill
out.
for being the producer, too.